All right, let's dive into the mind of a true visionary, someone who didn't just invent gadgets but dreamed up entire new ways for us to live. We're talking about Nikola Tesla. And believe me, this isn't just a story about coils and currents. It's about a vision of power that was so far ahead of its time, it's still blowing minds today. Right from the get-go, you can see Tesla was thinking on a whole different level, a cosmic scale, really. This sets the stage for everything. He wasn't just trying to make a better motor. He wanted to tap into the universe itself and completely rewrite our relationship with energy. So to really get what a game changer he was, you have to picture the world he was born into. Back in the 1880s, electricity was, well, it was a mess. It was clunky, inefficient, and you couldn't send it very far. The systems were, as they said back then, cumbersome and wasteful. But Tesla, he saw a path to something better, something economical, elegant, and powerful enough to reach absolutely everyone. And it all started by tackling one massive problem, a bottleneck that was basically holding back the entire electrical age, the huge limitations of direct current. See, the world was running on DC, direct current. And yeah, it worked, but it had this one fatal flaw. If you tried to send it down a wire for any real distance, most of the power just burned off as heat. It just fizzled out. The only way to make it work was to use ridiculously thick, expensive cables and build a power station on pretty much every street corner. It just wasn't going to work for building a modern world. And right at the heart of every DC motor was this thing, the commutator. It was basically a clunky, spinning mechanical switch that was constantly sparking, creating friction, and wearing itself out. To Tesla, this wasn't just a flaw. It was an ugly, inefficient, brute force solution that had to go. So, Tesla asked himself a deceptively simple question. How can you make a motor spin without any of those clumsy, sparking parts? How do you get the electricity itself to do all the work? The answer, would literally change everything. And this brings us to his absolutely brilliant solution. He didn't just tweak the old motor, he completely reimagined it from the ground up with what he called the polyphase alternating current system. Okay, so this is where the magic happens. Instead of one steady push of current, Tesla used two or more, each one pulsing slightly out of sync with the other. Think of it like pushing a merry-go-round. One person can get it started, but if you have a few friends pushing one after another, you get a perfect, smooth spin. So look here. In step 1, the first current creates a magnetic field pushing north-south. Then, in step 2, just as that one fades, the next current peaks, creating a field that's east-west. And the result in step 3 is this seamless rotating magnetic field, a literal whirlwind of energy created with no moving parts at all. The rotor inside the motor just gets swept up in the spin. It was absolutely genius. And the results, they were just transformative. The AC motor was just as powerful as DC, but poof, that terrible commutator was gone. But here's the real kicker. AC power could be easily ramped up to super high voltages using transformers. That meant you could send it hundreds of miles with almost no power loss and then step it back down to be used safely in your home. This was the key. This is what built our modern world. But you see, for Tesla, solving one of the biggest engineering problems in history was just the beginning. With the world starting to adopt his AC system, he was free to push electricity into these wild, unexplored territories. He started venturing into the very strange world of high frequencies. Now, we're not talking about the 60 times a second alternating current in your wall outlet. Oh no. He built these incredible machines that could make the current flip back and forth over 33,000 times a second. And at those insane frequencies, the normal rules of electricity, they just started to break. He started discovering all this bizarre stuff. Currents that should have been instantly lethal could pass right over your body without much effect. Electrical arcs, instead of being loud and snappy, became silent and steady. These discharges were hot, like a flame, but there was no fire, no chemical reaction at all. And maybe the weirdest of all, gases in this field seemed to become rigid, like a beam of light could vibrate like a guitar string. To give you an idea of the kind of raw power he was playing with, he described taking just a normal iron wire and putting it inside one of his high-frequency coils. The result? It got hot enough to scorch wood. In just 2 seconds. 2! The sheer speed and intensity were just unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. He was taming a force of nature right there in his lab. But all these weird phenomena, they weren't just parlor tricks for Tesla. He saw them as clues, as signposts that were all pointing toward his ultimate, most audacious vision, a world where we could send power and information anywhere with no wires at all. And suddenly, that quote from the beginning starts to hit a little differently, doesn't it? He wasn't thinking about containing energy in a wire anymore. He was thinking about broadcasting it through space, through the air, even through the planet itself. And he proved it. In his famous lectures, he'd stand in the middle of a stage, hold up a glass tube or a light bulb with no wires attached, and it would just light up in his hands. Pure magic to the audience, but to him it was proof of concept, energy moving wirelessly through the room. He realized he could scale this up. At first, he thought maybe you'd need a single wire, but then he had an even bigger, crazier idea. Why use a wire at all when you have the biggest conductor imaginable right under your feet, the Earth itself? He had this vision of a future where signals and power weren't just sent around the globe, but through it. And listen to how poetically he put it. He said this information would throb through the Earth like a pulse through a living organism. What an incredible image. And this brings us to the final and maybe the most profound piece of Tesla's whole journey. He stopped asking how to move energy from point A to point B and started asking where it all comes from in the first place. This is the question that drove him in his later years. He came to believe that space isn't empty. He believed it was a vast, roiling ocean of energy, and everything we see is just a part of its constant motion. And this was his ultimate prophecy, that one day we'd stop burning stuff and damming rivers, and instead we would learn how to just plug in, to tap our machines directly into the cosmic engine of the universe, to attach ourselves to the very wheelwork of nature. So, the light of the future? For Tesla, it wasn't just a brighter bulb. It was a future powered by the universe itself, delivered wirelessly, available to everyone, everywhere. It's a vision that started with a little sparking motor and ended, quite literally, among the stars. And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How close are we to finally figuring out how to plug into that wheelwork?